Aren't you tired of hearing about and taking supplements that don't seem to do anything? Yeah, me too. If you've been in the health space for a while now, there's no doubt you've taken your fair share of supplements and have noticed that the vast majority of them are total nonsense.
They're just making stuff up, okay?
Thankfully, there are a handful of supplements that have been around for decades and have plenty of research and testimonials to back up their use. One of those is the dye called Methylene Blue, which has to be the coolest sounding name of any supplement I've ever heard. Not only is this supplement likely to have a noticeable impact on your subjective quality of life, but you can also use objective measurements to confirm it's not just placebo. While dye making is one of the oldest activities known to man, the Industrial Revolution forced chemists to develop synthetic dyes that could meet large demands. These bright synthetic dyes were showing promise, being developed by chemists across Europe, and rapidly growing industries started to take notice. Prussian-born Heinrich Caro trained to be a textile colorist while attending chemistry lectures at university. He ended up working for a printing company and then was sent back to England to learn new techniques. In 1855, he found a job there at a chemical company and transitioned to a full-time industrial organic chemist, making many notable discoveries. With a solid understanding of both research-based science and the commercial needs of big industry, he became a successful first head of research for a German chemical company in 1866. During his tenure, he conducted an experiment which successfully dyed cotton pure blue. A year later, the company received the patent for the first coal tar dye, known as methylene blue. 20 years later, emerging doctor Paul Ehrlich experimented with methylene blue in a medical context. He noticed that it turned both live neurons and malaria-causing parasites blue. He had proved that methylene blue could successfully treat malaria. Ehrlich made history by curing an infectious disease with a synthetic substance for the first time. The dye did not initially gain traction though, as quinine was already an established treatment for malaria. After many years of being shelved, Dr. Olaf Mueller renewed the interest of the esoteric blue dye when malaria was gaining resistance to anti-malarial drugs. He found that methylene blue was superior to all other drugs in many ways and may even be the most effective inhibitor of infection. Years later, methylene blue found numerous uses outside of the infectious disease space. It was one of the first drugs to be used in psychotic patients in the late 1800s and serendipitously led to the development of phenothiazine antipsychotic drugs in the mid-1900s. It was studied for use in bipolar disorder in the 1980s and recently has shown promise for Alzheimer's disease and other neurodegenerative disorders. At the time of this video, there are over 21,000 PubMed citations of methylene blue. Its combination in medicines have been FDA approved, and off-label uses include the treatment of congenital methemoglobinemia, hypotension, encephalopathy, and cyanide poisoning, and diagnostics like parathyroid imaging. What was once used to stain cotton a vibrant blue color is now used to biohack the brain. Methylene blue's most common utilization in medicine is in a condition called methemoglobinemia, a far too complicated name to describe low blood oxygen. Basically, this happens when the iron attached to your red blood cells lack enough electrons, making it harder to transport oxygen around the body. Methylene blue can act as an electron donor, quickly shifting the balance of iron back to its native state and restoring the ability of the blood to carry oxygen. This ability of methylene blue to take in or dish out electrons depending on where the body needs it is why it is so powerful. The shuffling around of these electrons, called redox reactions, are fundamental to life as we know it. There are a ton of different enzymes requiring all types of different machinery in order to pull off these reactions throughout the body. Specifically, this is important in generating energy, where methylene blue truly shines. Besides allowing for an increase in oxygen carrying capacity, methylene blue can directly participate in energy production. The final and most important step of producing energy efficiently is called the electron transport chain. This is a series of redox reactions resulting in the flow of electrons, eventually creating ATP if all goes according to plan. Methylene blue, being a substance that can transport electrons itself, can substitute in if things start to get backed up. This means that a number of problems with a cell's energy production can effectively be taken care of just by taking some methylene blue. Due to this, a good way to objectively tell if methylene blue is actually doing anything for you is to test your metabolic rate. A simple and reliable way to do this is to measure your underarm temperature and resting pulse rate. Underarm temperature should be around 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit in the mid-afternoon, while pulse rate should be at around 85 beats per minute. Methylene blue can increase both if it's doing what it should be, so test it out if you think it's all crap. Why does this matter? Well, there's a number of things that can potentially back up the process of producing energy. A lack of proper energy production is at the crux of most modern health issues. Its most profound impact happens to be in the brain, since that's the organ that requires the most energy production. Methylene blue has been shown to reliably increase brain ATP production, to the point where in animal models it's been able to protect against the pathology of both Parkinson's disease and stroke. In humans, it's even shown promise as a therapy for Alzheimer's. Granted, the doses in these types of studies is way more than I'd suggest for someone just looking for a cognitive boost, but it still illustrates the point. As little as 15 milligrams per day was described as a potent antidepressant in one study. Speaking from personal and anecdotal experience, even doses less than that can have profound effects on the mind. In doses of 10 milligrams or less, the most common mental effects are a better sense of well-being, more mental clarity, motivation, and energy. Typically, when more energy is being produced through the increased flow of electrons, more reactive oxygen species start to form. This can happen when, like I described before, the electrons become backed up, causing hazardous byproducts like superoxide and hydrogen peroxide to form. It's generally accepted that this is just a consequence of producing energy to begin with, and these byproducts have long been recognized as drivers of disease. It's also generally accepted that the scam for gurus and supplement companies alike to sell antioxidants is founded on the idea of neutralizing these very molecules. More often than not, these don't really do anything in that regard, but methylene blue actually does. So not only does methylene blue increase the production of energy, but it also effectively stops the main problem associated with doing so right in its tracks. This overproduction of reactive oxygen species can also be toxic to neurons that produce a reward and motivation neurotransmitter, dopamine. However, since methylene blue can drastically reduce these compounds, it protects our dopaminergic neurons. Methylene blue also inhibits the enzyme responsible for degrading both dopamine and serotonin, another way it can boost dopamine levels. If you've watched our last video, you'd know that raising serotonin is not something you want to do. Thankfully, at lower doses, methylene blue does not seem to elevate serotonin. However, it is still not recommended if you are on an SSRI drug. Like serotonin, another compound whose role in physiology has been completely butchered by the mainstream is nitric oxide. This is mainly because it is able to induce vasosuppression and thus lowers blood pressure. However, nitric oxide is the backup system to do this. The main way to do this is to increase carbon dioxide. Nitric oxide is typically released in response to an inflammatory or other stress stimulus, and has a ton of toxic effects. For example, endotoxin injection results in the increase of nitric oxide, and it interferes with energy metabolism and potentially even leads to cell death. In fact, there's an entire nitric oxide theory of aging, demonstrating that the characteristics of aging and disease are produced by nitric oxide. Thankfully, we have methylene blue to save the day, being a potent nitric oxide synthesis inhibitor. Instead, by effectively increasing energy production, methylene blue enhances the creation of carbon dioxide to support healthy blood pressure. Methylene blue in general seems to be a substance that is highly protective of stress. After all, it has been used as a therapy in several shock states. When exposed to chronic stress, methylene blue can lower the hormone cortisol that causes all types of problems. Other stress hormones such as prolactin and estrogen that tend to make you feel like crap in general are also opposed by the blue godsend. Conversely, hormones that make you feel good, like thyroid hormones, are both mimicked and increased by methylene blue. I could go on, but the key concept is that we have our base level systems that we are supposed to primarily operate on. Then we have our stress systems that are only supposed to be used in spurts or as a backup if the first system is inadequate, but in today's environment can easily be chronically overutilized and ends up leading to pathology. Methylene blue through multiple actions supports the original system and exerts benefits on well-being and disease because of it. So we know methylene blue is good for the brain. What else can it do? Methylene blue may be one of the key items to keep around in case you're sick. One paper states that in a cohort of 2,500 cancer patients being treated with methylene blue, not a single one contracted COVID. Keep in mind that these patients were also on chemotherapy, which wrecks the immune system. The highly controversial chloroquine is a derivative of methylene blue, and they're thought to share many of the same protective features. One trial showed that taking methylene blue reduced mortality and the average length of stay at the hospital for COVID. Let's hope the overlords don't censor me for mentioning that. Methylene blue has many other antimicrobial effects as well, and being a top treatment for malaria, this should come as no surprise. It's been shown to inhibit the growth of the common intestinal fungus Candida, and has considerable antibacterial effects as well, especially when combined with red light. Red light does a lot of the same things methylene blue does, so doing both gives an additive effect. Just add in some raw honey and you have the based anti-pathogenic holy trinity. Given that so many people suffer from bacterial and fungal overgrowths nowadays, these can be employed to your benefit. Finally, we should discuss an absolutely shocking study. The researchers took skin samples of a patient who was 90 years old. Simply by dropping some methylene blue on the cells, they were able to revert the state of the cells back to that of a 20-year-old skin. This, of course, is due to methylene blue's ability to enhance energy metabolism, a mechanism that tends to become impaired as we age. Although, I wouldn't recommend putting it on your skin for this effect, at least if you're about to go out in public. It is a clothing dye after all, and let me tell you, once it's hit your skin, it is staying on there until it gets fully absorbed into your blood, which typically takes several hours. I went out to dinner after the picture in this thumbnail was taken, and let's just say I got some strange looks. I felt damn good though. Anyway, most people take methylene blue in 1 to 2 milligram doses orally. Sometimes people take up to 10 milligrams, but after that the benefits seem to taper off unless you have some sort of illness that methylene blue is treating. In my experience, it combines well with coffee and has had a great impact on my overall health and performance in the gym. It's been around for over 100 years and its side effects are close to non-existent. It is one of the only supplements with the A&O seal of approval, so give it a try and let us know in the comments what you think. Don't let them fool you. Subscribe to our channel.